light away.
Honor function.
Light away. Mr. Sampath, Dr. Armugam, Mr. Reddy, who was here. I'm sorry, I think Mr. Armugam was here. Friends and dignitaries of the dais, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to stand before you as one who belongs to this wonderful community, respected and celebrated across this world, or the galaxy, I should say. And the organizing committee, and particularly to point out Mr. Sampath, who has taken the effort to do so, deserves complete adores, at least from my side. Poverty alleviation and corporate social responsibility, so far as a lawyer goes, it's like an oxymoron. We know about corporate social responsibility, no doubt, as a lawyer. But how do I combine it with the so-called poverty alleviation? There has been tremendous, I would say, marrying of these two concepts in the Indian legal context. I was just mentioning to Dr. Armugam, who was asking me, we are one among the very few countries who have statutorily enacted this particular concept of corporate social responsibility in the Companies Act itself, in the 2013 Act. So as I take you through some concepts which I felt had its origin, also from one or two reports, the issues that the intellectual fields over the last 6 decades have decoded are the challenges relating to this is no easy task. The first report was one by Dr. Suresh Tendulkar Committee in 2009, who made some very nice observations, and I quote, "Fundamentally, the concept of poverty is associated with socially perceived deprivation with respect to basic human needs. As a result, social perceptions are taken to play a dominant role in ascertaining deprivation, although self-perceptions cannot be ignored altogether, and aggregated individual preferences may have to be respected in satisfying any given needs, in most cases, as we argue below, in the context of consumption poverty." In fact, finally goes on to conclude, the concept of poverty is admitted as multidimensional. This entire narrative between, or the connection between poverty and globalization was sounded by the Indian Supreme Court in Indian Medical Association versus Union of India, reported in 2011 Supreme Court cases 179, a specific passage alone which I would like to quote in paragraph 110, and I quote, "In the first place, it is not a completely well-accepted principle that liberalization, privatization, and globalization has led to the welfare, or that it has been an unalloyed good for everyone. As very prominent thinkers and policy specialists have been arguing for nearly 2 decades that the unthinking and extreme beliefs in LPG have led to many deleterious impacts globally which cannot be ignored. A Nobel laureate, Kenneth Arrow, and renowned economists such as Samuel Bowles and Stephen Duluth have also posited that the ideological notions that all governmental programs to achieve egalitarian goals are ineffective has fundamentally eroded the very culture of nations and the moral and constitutional commitments of the policymakers to pursue such goals with the dismal prognosis of immutable inequality. Meritocracy and economic inequality is what is all well recognized, that markets, instead of eradicating discrimination and disadvantages, may in fact perpetuate the same." In fact, from this, what we get to know is that it is quite discernible that the global imbalance of prosperity resulting in the vicious cycle of poverty could be corrected by the virtuous cycle of CSR obligations, which are more in the economic pattern of plowing profits for saving social costs. Now, how did this theme of corporate governance or corporate social responsibility come? In many ways, it showed the humanistic face of capitalism and socio-economic ethics in the 21st century. Clothed with legal sanction in the Companies Act 2013, the idea has now reached multi-dimensional proportions with a marked link with poverty alleviation at the global stage. In tandem with the global developments on ethics and business, it is relevant to note and relate with the evolving regulatory expression and subtext which points to a highly formalized CSR regime in India contained in the statutory form of the Companies Act 2013, which refers to section 135. Given in a small bullet, I would like to put it, it ensures that a company which has a turnover of more than 1,000 crores or who has a net worth of 500 crores shall constitute a CSR committee on the board of at least consisting 3 directors, out of which at least 1 should be an independent director. This should be disclosed in the balance sheets, particularly the board's report. The committee shall formulate and recommend a CSR policy indicating the activities to be done, recommend the amount of expenditure to be incurred on the activities referred to, monitor the expenditure and the policy from time to time, and the board, after taking into account all these, shall ensure that it follows the rules which are to be prescribed for the purpose of its continuous monitoring. The context of the contribution was already touched upon by Dr. Arumugam, so I would not like to get into it more. Added to that, there is a Schedule 7 of the Act also, under Section 467 of the Act, which gives the various activities to which it starts with. And I'm so happy to say the first clause itself starts with the words, to eradicate hunger, poverty, and malnutrition, promoting preventive health care and sanitation, including contribution to Swachh Bharat set up by the central government. And then comes the remaining other activities also. The massive and mandate highlighted as above has become a formulaic way of accounting or emphasizing the wide ambit of CSR. It is now clear that the corporate age has reached a stage of turning consumption into contribution. The international material on CSR and its pertinence in corporate governance resources has been a matter of consistent study across academic timelines, and an extract from the handbook made by PricewaterhouseCoopers in November 2013 states as under, and I quote, United States General Council is world's largest corporate citizenship initiative with the objective to mainstream the adoption of sustainable and social responsible policies by businesses around the world. The 10 principles of the UN Global Impact have been derived from various UN conventions, such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. What these principles cover are 4 broad areas: human rights, labor rights, environment, governance. Further, the ILO, the International Labour Organization, also has its own version of CSR with thematic trusts, and I quote, another voluntary declaration whose adoption by governments, employers, and multinational organizations is encouraged with the intention of further ensuring labor and social standards. This is particularly for organizations that operate across multiple countries. Focus is on core labor standards such as 1, freedom of association and right to collective bargaining, 2, industrial relations, 3, employment opportunities, that is creating of job security, improved living and working conditions, and ensuring that wages are on par with those of other enterprises in this same country. Social Accountability International, another policy and certifying watchdog, has shown its prognosis of the criteria required for CSR. And it quotes, this is one of the world's first auditable social certification standard. It is based on ILO, UN, and national law conventions, and adopts a management system approach in order to ensure that companies that adopt this approach also comply with it. This standard ensures the protection of basic human rights of workers, the 9 basic elements of this standard include 1. Child labor, 2. Forced and compulsory labor, 3. Health and safety, 4. Freedom of association and right to collective bargaining, 5. Discrimination, 6. Disciplinary practices, 7. Working hours, 8. Remuneration, and 9. Management systems. With this background, a suggestive roadmap for activities which rubric me to place before this August gathering is in relation to education. Firstly, support to technical vocational institutes for their self-development, academic education by way of financial assistance to primary, middle, and higher secondary schools, adult literacy, awareness programs, counseling for parents, special attention on education, training, and rehabilitation of mentally and physically challenged children and persons, spreading legal awareness amongst people and disadvantaged sections of society about their rights and remedies available, promotion of professional education by setting up educational institutions offering courses in engineering, nursing, management, medicine, and providing fees for meritorious and preferably girl students of the schools in the operational area of the company to enable them to get uninterrupted education. Second category, water supply, including drinking water. The third one, healthcare, organizing healthcare awareness camps in relation to AIDS, TB, and leprosy, social evils like alcohol, smoking, drug abuse, etc., child and mother care, diet, nutrition, blood donation camps, diabetes detection and hypertension camps. Other areas include family welfare, senior citizen healthcare wellness clinics, fully equipped mobile medical vans, telemedicine, and to supplement the different programs of local state authorities along with de-addiction centers. Environment, organizing sensitizing programs on environment management and pollution control. Green belt development, afforestation, social forestry, check dams, parks, etc. Restoration of mined out lands, development of jobs relating to agro-product, dairy, poultry, farming, and others, plantation of saplings producing fruit and animal care. And lastly, social empowerment, self-gainful employment opportunities, training of rural youth for self-employment on welding, fabrication, and other electronic appliances, to provide assistance to villages having small patch of land to develop mushroom farming, medicinal plants, farming, and other cash crops to make them economically dependent on their available land resources. Training may be provided by agricultural expert for above farming activities. And concluding, it is a truism like most truism forgotten that the era of corporate governance has to play a social role and a constructive one at that. A critique of business practices would reveal that CSR is more of a regulatory tool than a social sector program for poverty alleviation. This only makes it crucial for enterprises to wake up to not just the statutory mandate, but to the clarion call for globalization and its effects on poverty. A shared future beckons because of a shared heritage of conflict avoidance, environmental consciousness, and socio-economic self-sufficiency, and a philosophy of open-minded commerce. Culturally diverse are business models with globally adaptable, much engaging diversely through CSR. In a land of 1 billion opportunities, CSR is also another opportunity for enhancing the global prestige of Indian business models themselves. I thank the organizers for having given me this opportunity to place my views on the suggestions as well as the submissions relating to CSR and poverty alleviation. Thank you very much.